This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
First of all, have you been able to stay warm? You doing all right?
Oh, yeah, power's on. I don't think any snow's melted since Tuesday because the sun hadn't been out. It's been in the 30s, but I think it's supposed to get to about 40 today. Tomorrow there's some sun, so hopefully it'll be all cleared out here by Friday or Saturday at the latest.
All right. So what did Muss have to say about Arkansas, South Carolina on Saturday? I've put it on the idea that, man, I mean, call it what you want. Must win, can't lose. Got to get a road victory at some point. Saturday's the best opportunity. I call it a must win.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's another Super Bowl. I guess they've been calling these games. Pretty soon they're going to have more Super Bowl wins than in New England. I guess that's the goal anyway. But, yeah, I mean, you look at South Carolina, they've been sort of a screwy team. You know, I think they're the only SEC team to go in and win at Kentucky at Rupp Arena. And then, but they're 0-5 in SEC games at home, and they've gotten just obliterated in some of those. You know, Tennessee's obviously a great team, even though they got beat at Florida last night. Tennessee went in and beat them by like 86-43. A&M, who's, you know, as we saw the other night, it's a very good team, and they played real on the road. They went in there and drilled South Carolina at their place by 41. But then they played Georgia, who's had a pretty, you know, probably better season than most expected. They're doing a real good job under Mike White. They took Georgia to overtime. And they do have G.G. Jackson's one of the best players, one of the best freshmen in college basketball. He'll be a first-round pick. He's sort of like Brandon Miller in that he's 6'9" with perimeter skills. And he's a South Carolina kid who had committed to Frank Martin, and Martin got fired. Then he was going to go to North Carolina. Then he recommitted to South Carolina, the other South Carolina, not North Carolina. But even with a player that good, they're 8-14. But he's a guy that can shoot from the outside, you know, score inside. He was on the U.S. 18 and under team that went to Tijuana in the summer and blew out everybody they played and won the gold medal. And so those guys know each other a little bit. So, and they've got some size. I mean, Arkansas definitely. You look at the games left on the road: A&M, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky. This is by far on paper should be the game they should win. Those others, they might be able to win some of those places, but you certainly can't expect it. But this is a game you expect Arkansas to win. They should be favored. Carolina's been struggling, but still, Carolina's had some good moments. They beat Clemson, as Eric pointed out, and Clemson's been ranked. So they've been good enough to beat Kentucky and Clemson, and been bad enough to get, you know, lose multiple games by 40-plus at home. So it's a weird team to try to figure out, and you're probably not quite sure what you're going to get. And if they get the good Carolina, it'll be a tough game.
Man, I love it when Jordan Walsh doesn't foul out of a game. I love his athleticism, and I think he needs to be in there in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the most games. Coming down the stretch, he can hit free throws. He can do a lot of things. How impressed were you with Jordan Walsh last week?
Yeah, were you talking about Tuesday night?
Tuesday night.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, he came off the bench. I think Eric wanted to go a little bit bigger, and I didn't ask him this specifically, but maybe he felt like bringing him off the bench maybe would help him stay out of foul trouble a little bit. But he played starter minutes. He played 27 minutes. Yeah, he knocked down some threes, was good going to the hole. I think he had 7 rebounds, hit some big shots late in the game. He's a very skilled player, and when he plays well, you know, usually Arkansas is going to win. And we've talked about before, if he could have stayed in that Missouri game just a little bit longer, you know, he played 13 minutes. If he could have played 20-something, they probably win that game at Mizzou. And of course, he fouled out of Baylor. I think it's the first time I've ever seen this happen. He had 2 fouls in a second. He got called for a foul. They inbounded the ball. He immediately called for another foul. 1 second gone off the clock. So I've never seen that. But I think if he could have stayed in the Baylor game, maybe they win that, because he also gives them really good defense. But you know, it's just a tough deal he's been going through. But yeah, he's been playing better, and if he can stay out of foul trouble, that's huge. But foul trouble has been more of an issue on the road than at home for Razorbacks and Walsh. So we'll see what happens, you know, on Saturday.
And Bob, you know, Coach Nutt used to always say it's time for the freshmen to grow up. I think it's time for the freshmen to not be freshmen, getting a road win at South Carolina. But that being said, it seems like Devo and Ricky are going to be the 2 leaders that are going to take this team as far as they they can go. How's your confidence in Devo and Ricky Council taking this team on a deep run in March?
They're playing really well. I mean, Devo's, doing it on both ends of the court. I mean, seventh game the other night, seventh game of 16 or more. He had season high 19, I think it was, season high. And he's really got that three ball dropping consistently, scoring consistently, still having too many turnovers. But he does so many other things for you. It's hard to get on too much about the turnovers. But if you're Arkansas, you'd like to see, of course, he handles the ball a lot. And when you handle the ball a lot, you're going to turn it over some. But you'd like to see him have, a couple fewer turnovers a game maybe. But, yeah, he's playing great defense. I'm wondering if he's going to end up playing G.G. Jackson some. Because, but they have good guards. To me, that's going to be real interesting. Does Devo guard G.G. Jackson like he guarded, Brandon Miller, the 6'9" kid for Alabama, who's so good? That'll be interesting. Maybe Black covers him because he's got a little more size. That'll be interesting. But that's a guy they obviously have to keep an eye on. But, yeah, Devo's played so well on both ends of the court. And, Ricky, we didn't know this, but Eric revealed that he's been playing with a bad back, and he thought it affected him some defensively because obviously, you got to get down in the stance and bend some. It didn't only hurt him on that dunk he had the other night.
Oh, my goodness. He got some spring, don't he?
Yeah, and maybe that helps stretch out the tendons in his back. I don't even know if you have tendons in your back. Help stretch out the muscles or something. But I remember, after what Eric was talking about his back, I thought, well, man, his back was fine on that play. But yeah, Ricky, he had the game. Who was that against? Was it Ole Miss where he only had 2 points and just kind of wasn't himself? Maybe the back was bothering him a lot that game, but he's bounced back. He had a really nice all-around game when they beat LSU. I think he had 10 points, 7 assists, 6 boards. And then at Baylor, he had 25 points. And then the other night, he had 19. I think he had 6 rebounds.
Made it look easy, too. That 19 looked real easy.
Yeah, and he's getting them in different ways. Mid-range jumpers, hitting some threes, taking the ball, trying to hold dunks. He's really good at the free throw line, drawing fouls. So yeah, if those two guys can play like they did Tuesday night against a really good A&M team, and then obviously they keep the Mitchell twins keep playing well, and Walsh can stay out of foul trouble and play well, and obviously Anthony Black's. I guess he played football. I should have asked him about today, but he just seems like he takes so many hits, but he just hangs in there. And Eric was talking about how he had to miss some practice, and they weren't sure if he was going to play, and they played 38 minutes. He's a tough kid. So, right now you feel like they're kind of figuring some things out, and they obviously defended the home court, which they absolutely had to do. They could have won at Baylor. That was such a disappointing loss for them. Could have won at Missouri. Could have, should have, would have, but they got to win this game in South Carolina Saturday.
There's still a lot of ifs, though, and I think so. What can you go into a game like expecting right now? You've got this string of performances that you have a feeling what you're going to get out of Devo. As long as Ricky Council's back is loose,
he's going to give you 20 if he's fine. He should be able to give you 20. Yeah,
he's going to be just fine. Mm-hmm. Anthony Black, you feel like you know what you're going to get from Anthony Black as long as Mekhi Mitchell doesn't get into foul trouble. You have a sense of that. There are other ifs, though, and as though they always need like one of those ifs or two of those ifs to be answered in a positive way for Arkansas to get a win, and it hasn't been consistent. If Jordan Walsh stays out of foul trouble. Yep. There's a lot of ifs about
Jalen Green plays.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's ifs about Mekhi Mitchell, about Joseph Pinion. I mean, there's been games where he's been the reason Arkansas won the first Mizzou game, and then there's games at A&M he doesn't even play. I wonder about Mekhi Mitchell. Like last year, getting Wade more minutes paid off a ton of dividends. And they might be different players, but they do play a little bit of they play forward. I know Trey was a little smaller. Mikel's more of a power forward, more of an enforcer defensively, rebounding, everything like that. And he's playing hurt. Or maybe I'm just searching for answers on how this team can get in a run right now, Bob, because the ifs don't always get answered in positive form. And you need two of those ifs to go your way to win games right now.
Well, like you guys said, they need Walsh to stay out of foul trouble, and they just need to, not give South Carolina, 25, 30 free throws either. They and I don't know if that you don't want to take away their aggressiveness, but they just got to kind of see how the game's getting called early. Although sometimes refs call games one way early, and they call it tighter later,
right.
Or they let them play more. It can be a really frustrating thing trying to figure out how the game's going to be called. They just got to do the best they can with that, and try to stay out of foul trouble as best they can, not put Carolina on the line a little bit, because Carolina for the season is shooting 39%.
Whoa,
so it's not a good team. So, yeah, I was looking it up here. I got it written down somewhere. I think, yeah, they're shooting 39.4% on C, but they're shooting 32 on threes. So, you know, you don't want to let them get – and they're shooting under 64 on free throws. So, for them to get a lot of free throws, you're probably going to put them on the line a bunch. And you got to, you know, guard the three ball. But like I said, they're a team that now they can get hot and shoot 50. But, you know, Arkansas, the last two teams, they played two real good teams, Baylor and A&M, and they've held them both under 35%. So if Arkansas can keep playing good defense without excessive fouling, you got to really like their chances in this game because Carolina is a team that struggles to score. For the most part.
And so to your point, Bob, I think if we don't turn the ball over and give them easy buckets, then I think we'll be all right and get our first road win. Play defense like we know how to play, and the team that struggles to score, you just can't give them freebies. You can't be sloppy with the basketball. Devo can't have 7 turnovers. You got to take care of the ball. It's the most precious thing out there, to quote Coach Nutt.
Yeah, and I think another thing is if Arkansas can go in there and get off to a good start, I don't mean like Carolina's going to fold. But I think if you go in there, like you already said, A&M, you give them credit. They hung around. They made runs back, and Arkansas got within 4 late in the game. But Arkansas never trailed in that game and led for 37 minutes. So I think if Arkansas can go and, you know, get a nice lead in the first half against South Carolina, I think just human nature was much. You know, South Carolina's 1-8 in the SEC. They're 0-5 in SEC home games. I think there could be, oh, here we go again. You know, I just think, you know, mentally that's human nature. So I think if Arkansas can go down there and get off to a good start, they can kind of, I don't know what kind of crowd Carolina's going to give, but whatever crowd they get, they can kind of take the crowd out of the game. Their players can start feeling good. So
don't give them any confidence. You're exactly right, Bob. Go out there and don't let them think they can hang with you because I think you're right. They'll fade early if you go out there and kind of put it on them.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but yeah.
Bob, how early in the presser today did Nick Smith Jr.'s name come up? Because it's February 2nd. Musk talked earlier, a month ago about, we know he won't play in January. So in early February, how early did the name come up? And I'm assuming that he didn't have much to say about it.
No, it wasn't the first question. Curtis Wilkerson asked him about it. I think I'd have to go back and listen. I think Curtis asked, "Is there any update on Nick?" And Eric basically said, "No, there isn't." Although that was more after the Baylor game, he just said no. I think today he might have said no, there isn't. So he was a little more expansive. I'd have to look back at the quotes exactly, but according to Eric, there is no update on Nick. That doesn't mean there isn't an update on Nick. That just means he didn't want to talk about if there was an update on Nick. If he's going to get back and play, he needs to be doing some things in practice. But I guess we'll see how this goes. But yeah, here's the folks. It wasn't the first question. It wasn't the last question. But he has something Eric's probably going to get asked, and he handles it well. He just no, there's been no update.
When is the last time he practiced with the team? I guess that would be the question I'd want to know. When's the last time he's practiced, and when is he? Because you're right, Bob. He's going to have to go through he's not just going to show up and start playing. He's going to have to go through a couple practices before when is the last time he's practiced with the team?
Well, and it depends on your definition of practice. I know after games he's been out there shooting a little bit. I'm not at practice. I wish I had a secret eyes there or whatever, secret source. But my guess is he's doing a little bit. But if a guy's shooting on the side, is that practice? And I don't know. I think they're going to be ultra careful with him. But yeah, maybe a better question for Eric next time around is what's Nick doing in practice? They always try to teach us at J School, Mizzou. Try not to, unless you just want a yes or no answer, don't ask yes or no questions. Don't say, is he practicing? No. Is there an update? No. What's he doing in practice? Then he can say, well, he's not doing anything, or he's doing a little bit.
Yeah, is he doing 3-on-3 drills? Is he doing full team? Is he doing one-on-one work? Yeah, stuff like that. There you go.
That's one for next week. That is one for next week.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.